Hey everyone, Ryan here, MandRproductions, and this is my review of the LEGO Harry Potter Hogwarts Express Collector's Edition. This is an 18+ set, given set number 76405 with 5,129 pieces. It is the second largest by part count LEGO Harry Potter set. However, it is the most expensive at $500 US. So it's a lot of money, but is it worth that price tag? We'll hopefully find out during this review. The box art is that simple black 18+ box art. You can see just a little preview of what's inside as far as the station, and you get a whole view of the train with the track that it comes on. Very beautiful there, but what they don't show you on the front of the box is the minifigures. There are a lot of minifigures in this set, spanning 4 separate Harry Potter films. That's pretty cool. But there is a bit of controversy with 2 of them, which we'll cover in the minifigure section of this review. It's unfortunate that 2 minifigs out of 20 can cause such a hoopla, but it certainly can when it's such an important 2 minifigs that are missing. The back of the box, just more plain black box art with a different view that actually shows you that you get the 9 3/4 platform there and a display plaque, which I didn't even realize was in the set. It's kind of a weird placement, but I'll take it, I guess. Below all that, you can see there are 3 light bricks with quote plates in front of them that are going to be nice for display, as well as another view of the platform and the actual Harry Potter Hogwarts Express there, and there are your dimensions for this if you need to know if it'll fit in your space. Unboxing the Express will be a lot like unboxing any other LEGO set. Some tape tabs on the side will reveal, ooh, a nice side panel inside that actually says stuff. But flipping that up will reveal just some white boxes inside, nothing all that exciting. It's one white box and a bunch of bags. Oh my God, that's a lot of pieces. So it looks like all these bags are gonna be the latter half of the build, so you can actually leave these bags in the box and you're just gonna need the white box to start. In case you were curious, the highest number I found was number 44. Oh my goodness, it is full of stuff, wow. Not a lot of box bloat. So within the first bag, we have a ton of, so within the first box, we actually have the instructions here, which is gonna have a massive sticker sheet. So it looks like you're gonna spend quite a bit of time adding those details to the set, as well as 4 massive instruction manuals. So this is a good one that you could build with other people, with family, with friends in different sections. So it is split up nicely between the 3 parts of the train and then the actual train station there. That's a nice touch. I really like that. It's always a fun way to build things, and you can split it up easily too throughout your days or weeks or month or however you split up your LEGO builds. Now, before we take a good look at all 20 minifigs included in the set, we gotta talk about something that LEGO Harry Potter designers do very well, and that is including a bonus in the set. They did this in Diagon Alley with a bonus Harry Potter minifigure, and they've done it here again with a platform 9 3/4 one-way travel ticket from London to Hogwarts. This is on an 8x16 plate, just like a LEGO Star Wars UCS plaque would be, and it is printed, which is amazing. It's a beautiful piece. It's not something that I would say that anyone ever has probably asked for, but they included it anyway, and that's amazing. Like, this is a really cool piece to have. Unlike the minifigs in the UCS gunship, this is a true bonus. It's not advertised on the box in any way, shape, or form. It's just something that you open and you find, and it's like really cool to get that sort of thing in sets like this, especially for $500. You're paying a lot of money. It's nice to get that little extra bonus. There's 5 minifigs here from the first movie, 2 of which being the train conductor and the trolley witch, both beautiful figures, and the trolley witch has her trolley, which is awesome. It's got some great sticker detailing, and then if we look on the other side, you can see even better candies and things there with like the chocolate frogs, I think. So that's awesome, love that. And then you also get the young Harry, young Ron, and young Hermione over here. Hermione has dual molded legs. Let me see if I can show those to you very well. Yeah, like dual molded legs, they look great, as well as I love Ron's like puckering face there. Great trio of characters along with the actual train staff. From the third movie, we get 5 figures again with the Dementor and Lupin there on the left. Lupin does have a normal looking face on his backside, but those are great looking characters there. And then again, the trio of Ron, Harry, and Hermione. Great trio and a great 5 figures from the third movie. All of these figures do fit into the train nicely as well. I'll show you them going into the train and in their respective spots a little bit later on. From the 6th movie, we have my favorite section of characters in the set, I would say. We have Broken Glasses Harry, which just looks amazing. We have Spectra Specs Luna Lovegood, and she does have great leg and hip printing as well. And then you can never go wrong with the good old Draco Malfoy. The 6th movie really hits here, I think. And then finally, from the 7th movie, the point of controversy in this set, we have our old Harry and Ginny, and they look great, and then we of course have their 3 children there. But then on the right, we have these 2 characters here. These are just random Hogwarts students. They do have very beautiful printed platform 9 3/4 tiles, much like we have the larger version of that we got like for our bonus in this set. But you would think in a scene that's like as cool as it is at the end of the 7th Part 2 Harry Potter movie, where you see old Harry and old Ginny meet up with old Hermione and old Ron, that LEGO Harry Potter would want to represent that in their set. But instead, they chose to represent 2 random Hogwarts students. And I rewatched the scene at the end of the movie. I did not see 2 students in their Hogwarts garb like this at the end of the movie. This is just shouldn't be here. I mean, ultimately, this should be a set that celebrates Harry Potter, and I think that it really should have had that old Hermione and old Ron minifigure. They should have been in this set. It's a set for collectors, and collectors don't want random Hogwarts students. Collectors want the characters that they love. They clearly must know this, as they included Ron and Hermione in a couple other instances in this set, but why not the older versions of the characters that we have never gotten in any other set before, and who knows where they might fit in again in the future. It just feels like a cop-out at $500. I mean, maybe still include those other 2 figures, fine, if you want to, I guess. I don't really see their importance here in this set. It's clearly a set that is about the main characters of the movies, not some random throw-in characters. Like, that's just what the rest of the set is, right? These are just complete random throw-ins, and when you would have obviously expected an older Ron and older Hermione that we've never had before from LEGO Harry Potter, I can see why it would be upsetting, and it's kind of upsetting me, even though I didn't care all that much coming into the set. Now I'm like, well, yeah, what gives? Why wouldn't we get those figures? Other than just to have random Hogwarts characters for no particular reason here that aren't even in the scene in the movie that they're basing this off of? It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's like a LEGO Star Wars type of decision here. It's bad. Ultimately, 20 minifigs is amazing. It's just unfortunate that there's going to be a scar on this set's minifig selection forever because of the missing Ron and Hermione. For collectors paying $500, it's just what they're going to want, and not having it here is going to receive some negative feedback, and LEGO Harry Potter designers are going to have to handle that, because that's what you get when you don't put in the expected thing there. I mean, you can do a lot of great stuff, but sometimes one scar is enough to ruin a set for some people. That's not to say you shouldn't buy this set because they didn't include those 2 particular figures. It's still a beautiful set, and we're about to take a good look at it, but I can understand being upset about that. It sucks. Now we're going to talk about the platform, and honestly, I think the platform is something that could have just been kept out of this set, especially given that we got 2 random figures instead of the actual figures that probably should have been there, but it's also such a burdensome additional cost to this set. This is probably about $100 of value here in a $500 set. Basically means this whole train could have cost $400, and then you just don't have this, which I don't think anyone would be missing if it wasn't here. Obviously, it's not a bad build. It looks beautiful, and I think it generally is a nice addition to the set on the whole, but you could have lived without it is my point. At the very front, though, we have a display plaque that is a sticker. It's got some general information about the Hogwarts Express, so you can pause and read if you're into that, and then all around the platform is just some brickwork and nice architecture to it. I really like the way that it looks. It's a nice, fun build. It's like got the bricks that look great there, and then we've got some signs for platform 9 3/4. I would also, by the way, trademark a number if I came up with it too, so that was pretty smart of them to trademark it. There's also 9 3/4 trademarked on that sign there, and then we have a quote from Albus Severus Potter that says, "Dad, what if I get put in Slytherin?" One thing the platform does really well is it has a bunch of different studs dispersed throughout, so you can actually change the layout of the characters kind of as you please and have them stand in different areas, so that's nice. And then if we flip this around, you'll see that the other side pretty much looks identical. It's even got the same signs with their unique number trademarked, and it's just kind of hollow on the inside. It's actually quite a bit lighter than you would think looking at it, probably because from the front side I look at it and I think it's going to be solid Lego, but it's just hollow on the inside, so then it ends up being rather light. It does have some Technic pieces there, basically so that you can attach it to the train setup, so I'll show you how that's done. I almost forgot to show off the detail inside the trunks. There's some clothing on sticker pieces. It's a nice detail. Essentially, there's a bunch of Technicals on the side of the train tracks here, and you just bring the platform over and attach it up. It's really easy to do. It's a super simple thing. This is the orientation they show on the back of the box, where it's just perfectly centered, and I think it's definitely an ideal look, because otherwise you'd have it way in the back where the main carriage is. You can at least access one of the doors here, so I think that's good enough for the train platform. I could definitely see some people buying parts to build more of these platforms and extend the whole thing. I think that could be a cool way to mock it up if you're into that, but for me, this is enough, and honestly, I would display it without it. The train is a very long boy, measuring just short of 4 feet long. It is a huge set, and it's one that won't fit on most normal shelves. You're going to need a special spot for this to go, unless you're going to chop it up in segments and display it like that, which you really could. I mean, if you're going to spend $500 on a thing, you might want to keep that whole thing together, so not something I guess I would recommend. The other thing about this train, I guess the complaint that's secondary to the minifigures, the one that I think matters less though, is that this train, the tracks are not the normal Lego tracks, so this is not going to fit on your normal Lego train tracks. I guess you could modify it, maybe. That seems like a big pain and probably something that's a tall task, if not impossible, given just how integral a lot of the wheels would be to the build, but it's something that I just don't see as a big deal. Like, it's on its own train track system. I like the bigger scale of it. Obviously, for the price, you would hope it would be this big. I suppose they could have made it smaller and cheaper, but they already have a smaller and cheaper train set that fits on the current Lego train system tracks. This doesn't, and it probably shouldn't. The front locomotive design here is frankly beautiful. It gets a little bit wider as you work towards the back. You can see each section getting progressively larger. It does have like a slight bump to it each time, but like, that's going to be expected. Lego's never going to be perfect with designs like that, and I think they did a phenomenal job conveying the general design there of the midsection of the locomotive. At the front, we have the Hogwarts Express written onto there. Looks great with the number 5972. We've got some blue little lamps on the front, as well as some bumpers, and then as we look to the side of the train, it also says Hogwarts Castle. So this is actually one of the pieces that I like the least here. It falls off constantly. It's only attached by a stud, and it's something that can like get bent out of place very easily. I don't know, like, obviously they probably did their best. This is probably the only solution to that particular piece, but it's something that on either side of the model can get a little bit bent out of shape pretty easily and make your display just look not that great. So it's something that I constantly find myself having to bend back into place, so I find that to be a little bit annoying. The wheels for the set look great, beautiful, 5 on each side, 3 large and 2 small. Got a little ladder or step area that leads into the place for the train conductor, and the number on the side, which the sticker is just a little bit offset, 5972 again there. Now you might be wondering, well, does the train actually move? It can move on these tracks, but currently there are bricks under here attached to it that don't allow it to move, because on display, if you move this thing, you don't want it to just fall off the display. That would be a big problem. So they basically attach this thing to the ground there with some bricks, and so that way it doesn't move. But if you still want to be able to show off the function of the train, you just pop that piece on top and you can move the whole thing, and you can actually show the wheels spinning and everything going along with that in motion. It looks really cool. I mean, really the only thing you could add to this conceivably is maybe some steam coming out or something. Like, there's not too much else you could possibly want out of something like that. About as accurate as you can get with a Lego set, I think. Now, so that we can see in that space there, we're going to detach this like so, and you can see these actually can roll on the tracks, but because this is down on bricks, it doesn't roll. So if we pull this off those bricks, you can see the underside of it. You can see some of the Technic gear workings. It's actually a pretty simple design, I would say. I mean, I guess it's probably complex for a Lego Harry Potter train, but I mean, it doesn't seem like there's too much going on when you compare it to some of the other Lego Technic-y sets where it just becomes a giant mess underneath some of them. There's the bricks that were holding down the train so that it couldn't move. Obviously, when it's detached, it could move and slide off, and you just don't want these things to be sliding around, right? So that way it's on there and it's not going anywhere. And in case you're curious, when it moves, obviously the whole wheel assembly moves and everything like it's supposed to, just like when I spin the thing on top. You can see the thing on top spinning as it moves too. So pretty cool. This is the space for your train conductor. He can literally just stand there on one of 2 studs. It's nothing crazy there, but it's a nice space for him with a small amount of detail within. Our next section is the tender. This is what's going to hold your coal. It says Hogwarts Railways. It's going to be the same thing on the other side, and there's really not a whole lot going on here. It's got the big opening so they can shovel the coal out and into the furnace of the train, I guess, and then, like, otherwise it's just a beautifully designed tender. Like, I really have nothing else to say about it. It's just got the wheels. They're very low friction, so they can roll easily. What I did notice about this is it's going to be a little bit difficult to take apart and show, butt. Ow. For those possibly interested in modifying this train to motorize it, it's basically hollow. So that's where you could totally fit an engine in and modify the wheels to make them run with the engine. Like, that is the spot to do it. So it's something that maybe they left empty purposefully so that people could do that. I also just don't see why you would fill it in with stuff. Like, there's no real need to actually have a full thing of coal in there. You just have the top facade that shows coal, and I think that's good enough for a Lego build, right? And so the option, I think, is definitely there for builders that are inclined to add on to their Hogwarts Express here and motorize it. I do think, though, for 500 bucks, it would have been nice to have it motorized. I think a good reason for it not being motorized is, though, that is the only track you get, and there's no other compatible track for it in the Lego system currently. So it's not like, you know, you'd have to go out and basically build your own track system for it. If it fit on the existing Lego track, I would feel much more strongly about this needing to be motorized, but I think it's fine here. I think there's real potential in the future to do like a $150 to $200 Hogwarts Express that is motorized in this scale, and I think that would work much better than motorize something like this. But if you're interested, you can do it. Our final train section here is the passenger car, the underside of which is relatively simple again, but it looks beautiful, greatly detailed in here. And something weird that I noticed is the front and back wheels aren't spinning when these ones are, when I'm rolling it along. I don't know, maybe I built it wrong, but you should be able to see this wheel I don't think is spinning, neither is this wheel. So just something odd that's happening. It doesn't seem to affect the movement at all, but might be something to be aware of in the building process, just to take extra attention to, or it might be an error with the set. I'm not exactly sure which. Something else you should be keenly aware of is when you go to pick up this set, the way I want to pick it up every time is by grabbing it right here. You can't do that. It's not going to work. You have to pick it up at the ends or from underneath. You cannot pick it up in the center with your hand like you would intuitively want to grab it. I've had this set built for a few days, and I still, every time I reach for it, want to do that. So it's something that you kind of might have to beat out of yourself. Moving from left to right, the first section of the passenger car has a door on the end here that can be opened conveniently. It also has a really nice window. Really love that look there. We can close that back up, and you can see that whole end is very nice. And then at the top here, you can actually lift this off. You can also open this door on the side if that's what you want. There's another door through to the other side. I'll just open all three, in fact, to give full light to the inside. And then within there, there is a stickered message board, a luggage area on the left, a small frog on a side compartment just kind of laying down there. I suppose that side compartment could also be used for the trolley, which is trolley if you wanted to store it there. As we move further back, you'll find accessing interior space only gets easier, so we can just lift up on this and pull the whole thing off. We see a quote at the top that says, "Has anyone seen a toad?" from Hermoine Granger. And then we have 4 seats inside this first section. This first section is supposed to be for the first Hogwarts movie minifigures. We also have small stickers at the headings that are supposed to represent some of the original, I think, Harry Potter sets there. So just kind of a nice detail. We have some of the candies from the trolley on the floor there with a rat. One of my favorite details is on the top with the overhead bin storage in black there. I think that looks awesome. Now on the opposite side of the train, we're going to want to lift this whole section up so you get both scenes at once here, and we're going to take Hermione and stick her in the doorway because that's where she is supposed to be represented with this particular scene as she walks in asking, "Has anyone seen a toad?" And then somewhat unfortunately, the short minifigs can't actually sit down, so they look a little bit awkward in their seats, but this is when they say, "No, haven't seen a toad." And yeah, so that scene is very nicely represented. I think it looks beautiful. And then right above that, something you might have noticed, something you might have already known is in the set, is the light brick, and that is conveniently hidden by the quote brick. I think that's kind of where the idea for the quote bricks came about, because you have to have something covering that up. That is ugly. You can't just have that on your set like that. So they put the quote tile there, and it covers it up generally nicely, and it's a nice additional thing for your display to have a fun quote. The thing I don't really like about it is that the light is super yellow, or orange maybe is a better color description for it. I just don't think it looks very good when you light it up with that particular color in there. Like, it looks cool to have the light in there, but I just think the color of it's a little bit weird. I also think that it adds a bit of a weird thing on top here. And I suppose you could throw a 2x4 plate on top to fix both these issues, but I also wish there's kind of a way to keep the light on permanently. But then again, you can't really replace the batteries in these, so it would just burn out really quickly. Ultimately, I think there are a couple of reasonable flaws to point out with having a light here as far as the accuracy on top and just the general look of it being taken away from on the inside here. There's a couple things that I think are wrong with it, but I also think it's a cool function to have for a $500 set. Flipping back to the other side now, we can see that the doors can slide open and close. They're a little bit loose on their rails here. You can see it just kind of wobbles back and forth quite a bit as you move it around, but it's still nice to be able to open and close the doors as you please. I almost forgot to show off that the Trolley Witch can indeed fit down the corridor. It can be a bit of a tight fit, but she does fit. It's really nice that the set is wide enough to kind of house everything that you would want it to house, but she does fit there. Unfortunately, we are going to have to move her out of the way because I want to put the Dementor in for our next movie scene. We have a quote from Ron Weasley that says, "I think someone's coming aboard," and then you have the Dementor in the background, which is pretty ominous looking. Love that. So very similar design on the inside of this one, exact same seating arrangement, exact same arrangement for the overhead storage. I had the wrong Hermione in the old scene, swapped her out, and now we'll put the older Hermione in the newer scene. And with that, you get an idea of what a stuffed cabin looks like with 4 minifigs filling all 4 seats and the Dementor trying to break into the room. I think it's a great look. The third and final section offers a bit more space for Luna Lovegood and Harry Potter. You just pull that section off, but the section on the other side doesn't actually come off on this one. This is just going to stay attached, even though you have this big open area. It basically transitions into this third area and becomes a whole separate open space, but you don't get that extra side opening. So it is a little bit unfortunate there that you can't easily access what's back here as far as seating goes. There's actually 7 more seats at the back here, so you could really fill this out with more Hogwarts students if that's what you wanted to do. But I think it fills out pretty nicely with Luna and Harry there, and it's even got a quote at the top that says, "Raxburts, your head is full of them," quote Luna Lovegood there, and she's wearing her Spectra specs. So yeah, pretty cool looking scene, I think, and this one, of course, will light up too. And technically behind this section, there is a small area where we have Draco Malfoy in, and it's basically just an open area within where you can take the little roof off. As you can see, there's quite literally nothing going on in there other than that there is the door on the back, and there's a sliding door here, so you can open that up and get access to that third open cabin area. So I think that's a really cool space, just really beautifully designed. It's just a little bit hard to get your fingers in and out of sometimes. Fitting the train all back together should be easy, although I have had some trouble with this particular piece going back into this section. It just can get caught up here sometimes, and it can be a little bit difficult to get it to just place itself down properly. That time was actually probably one of the quickest runs I've had thus far. But all of these panels are generally supposed to be easy to put back on for you, so you can take them on and off as you please to access the minifigure sections. I think it's a great look to be able to display the set open. I don't think most, if at all many people, will be displaying it like this, but it's a nice option to have, and you can even pick it one section at a time. So if you only want to show off the scene from one particular movie, you can do that too, which is great to have as an option. I just, again, don't think it's an option many people will take advantage of. But if you want to move the entire train, like pick it up and move it from one shelf to a table or vice versa, you can't just come along and try to pick up the whole thing like this. I mean, you can. It just might not be a good time for you. It's not built to do this. You're not really supposed to do this. It's rather heavy. It's cumbersome. It could easily fall one way or the other or get out of hand, or more importantly, the whole thing could very easily topple off the tracks, right? And so when that happens, it's going crashing to the ground. There's very little, if anything, you're going to be able to do at that point. So ultimately, the way you should be moving this thing is taking the passenger car, moving it on its own, put it out of the way as well. We can take the tender, move it on its own, put that out of the way, and then you're stuck with this very one-sided, heavy train engine thing, and you're not going to want to be picking this up like this either. I mean, you can. Actually, this is probably fine. The way I had seen to do it is actually a bit different, but you could probably get away with this. But there is one other section you can take apart if you want to. You can pull the train tracks off and literally just separate it like this, and so then you have this section of train track, which is just very lightweight and not, you're not way off balance there, and then you just have this section with the actual train on it. And that, I think, is the optimal, safest way to move it. Ultimately, anything can happen, and you could still drop it if you're being a little bit clumsy on any given day. But I think if you at least get to this point, you're going to be fine moving the set, and you shouldn't have to worry about it dropping. There have been sets in the past from like LEGO Star Wars, like the UCS Death Star, that every time I touch it, I think I'm going to break it. But this, if you follow these steps, isn't one of them. I could understand wanting to pass on this set at the $500 price point. Like I had mentioned earlier, getting rid of the train station section and selling this for just $400 may have been a more successful idea for LEGO Harry Potter. Ultimately, I'm no expert. I don't know what all research went into deciding to add this versus not have it, but I think taking $100 off the price never hurt a set, especially when the main purchase reason for most people is going to be for the train on its own. That doesn't mean this edition is bad. It is beautiful. It adds something really nice to the set, including that display plaque and some great minifigs, but it also brings in the most controversial part of this set in that it doesn't include the two minifigs, Ron and Hermione in their older years, that probably should be included with that platform. $500 is a lot for any LEGO set. It doesn't really matter how you slice it. The question really comes down to, is it worth it for you as a buyer for the money? As my mom said when I told her this was $500 when I was building it, she was like, oh my god, that's ridiculous. But my mom also isn't the target demographic for this set. So is $500 actually ridiculous in the world of LEGO, given what LEGO sets typically sell for? I don't think so. I think $500 is reasonably fair for this set. I don't even remember the piece count. It's irrelevant to me. Just following the eye test, I think it's worth the money. Now, if you're not a big Harry Potter fan, you shouldn't be spending $500 on a LEGO Harry Potter set. That should go without saying. But I think LEGO's put together a very good value proposition here for $500, barring the two figures there. This set to me is like a 9.5 out of 10. It misses that perfection mark for some obvious reasons. It also reminds me that I both need a bigger table and a bigger bank account.